look it up.
Maybe we'll
Hello, everyone.
won't get that far. So
Well, the topic of discussion is, can a preacher wear a T-shirt with writing on it for a Bible study on Wednesday night?
well, they can't see the right. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they.
I think people can,
Yeah.
and so
Yes. I can see
my apologies if you're offended. I don't think you're offended.
I don't think so.
I'm offended at that, though. I tell you,
Branson?
the Branson.
Flag. Yeah. Well,
Branson flag.
Cincinnati. If you're gonna wear that shirt, this is the year to wear it.
Well, I bought this shirt a long time ago. You know?
Yeah.
There's a thing about faith.
Is it like well, they say like every 20 years fashion comes back around in style? So
I have T-shirts. I think they're older than I am.
yeah,
And I bought them. I don't know how that happened.
bought them at
I have one
thrift
that's
shop.
I have one I've worn for 20 years. I just threw it away the other day because it was
That's hard. That's like
it was part
like
of
a
me.
part of family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's literally been
Yeah,
on you,
family meals and
closer to you than
read.
I mean, literally.
Than my
like-
brother that I don't have.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
I mean,
We could do this all day or all evening, but we probably shouldn't.
yeah, we really could. That's,
Yeah. Just tune in and listen to us talk about.
hey, that's the podcast.
Yes. We're going to do that.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay, but this isn't that. Mark chapter 3. This is lesson number 6. Mark chapter 3, verse 7, beginning.
That's a lot of numbers.
I know. But this is, the crowds are following Jesus, and he's going to appoint the apostles, and then he's in trouble again. You know.
He's
sort of-
in trouble now until
Well, right.
basically
It doesn't end.
No,
Right.
it's ramping up. I think you
And-
can say definitely here at the end of last week's passage, verse 6. Now there's a plot to kill him.
Yes. So we'll read what 7 through 12,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that. We'll just break it up
We'll see.
as
how
it
far we
is.
get, yeah.
We'll see. One verse.
Jesus departed with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him. Hearing all that he was doing, they came to him in great numbers from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, beyond the Jordan, and the region around Tyre and Sidon. He told his disciples to have a boat ready for him because of the crowd, so that they would not crush him. For he cured many, so that all who had diseases pressed upon him to touch him. Whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and shouted, "You are the Son of God." But he sternly ordered them not to make him known.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I had a thought about, not about the demons necessarily here, but when we were going through John and reading about the miracles there, and a lot of times he told people not to say anything, right? But then other times, like what we just read last week,
Yeah.
he heals someone in front of a great big crowd
Right.
of people. So, I mean, I know he had his reasons for doing that, but it seems, I don't know, to me a little arbitrary, or maybe just sometimes inconsistent, with sometimes he's healing and doing miracles, feeding 5,000 people, obviously doing miracles, and then sometimes, when the guys are lowered down and through the roof, to be healed in front of a church that's going, and then sometimes he's like, "Don't tell anybody what you just saw here."
Well, the thing that jumps to my mind is the idea that, well, I think it's from the Gospel of John, which, like you said, we've covered already, but Jesus says that the Father tells him what to say and how to say it. So I would think that these are times when the Father is telling him, okay, they can say this, but now, no, they're not. We're not going to do this right here. So I would think, although that doesn't give a reason for why, but
Right.
it does kind of, I think, fall under that category of Jesus is saying, the Father he knows
Mm-hmm.
when to say and when not to say. So this, verse 12, but he gave them strict orders.
Well, now there he's talking to
The
demons, right?
demons,
And
right.
he does that more consistently.
Yes.
Telling the demons, don't say.
I don't know that he ever tells a demon go out and
Right.
tell everybody,
Right.
because that's
Which makes more sense when you think
Right.
about, to me anyway,
Yeah.
if you've got demons going around
Yeah.
saying that this is the Son of God,
Yeah.
well, or demon-possessed people,
Yeah.
I guess I should say, that people are going to say, well, if a demon's saying it, then he's obviously lying.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
But the healing, like,
Well, you're talking about like in chapter 1 with the man with leprosy, verse 44. No, 43. Jesus sent him away with a strong warning. See that you don't tell this to anyone. Let's see, was it? What was this, a Sabbath? No, it doesn't say. But, the problem here with the man having leprosy is then Jesus would have to go. I mean, this causes problems. But if he's healed of that, then there's no issue.
well,
But
we do know of a time when that does cause an issue. When I don't remember where it is, but a man is healed of something. He runs into the temple, and then they start grilling him.
yeah, the man blind,
Right. About
yeah,
what how did this happen?
Oh, yeah.
And who were you with? And he's like, this is what happened. He tells them exactly,
yeah.
What's going
Yeah.
on. And so, and they don't, well, I don't know if they don't believe him, but at least they
Well,
deny.
I want to hear it from his parents and
Right.
all that.
So, it just kind of seems like sometimes he says don't say it, and sometimes go ahead and do it, or he does these miracles
he
and
tells
tells a lot of people.
Tells this guy in chapter 1 with leprosy, don't tell anyone. God, do what? I mean, they're under the old law at this point, so.
But
go
to the priest.
Go to the priest,
Yeah.
and do what needs to be done for your cleansing as a testimony to them.
So what did the guy do?
He goes out and he starts talking, spreads the news, and ended up Jesus couldn't go into the cities anymore.
Right.
So, but okay,
That cracks me up because that's exactly what I would do.
Well,
I mean, I think it would
how
be,
excited would you be?
How could you keep that?
Right.
Especially if leprosy is not something that was hidden. You had to make it public
Right.
to let people know
Exactly.
you were leprous.
Yeah.
So now you're not saying
Yes.
it anymore.
Right. Well,
I would be like, Jesus told me not to say it, so I'm going to ask you if you've heard about this healing that he did.
yeah. So, well, one thing is true is that he can control the spiritual realm by saying, "Don't say this." Hey, Bryce.
Yeah, and the demons don't.
Yeah, they don't. They obey, but human beings.
Yeah.
Jesus isn't like, giving him back a double portion of leprosy or anything, because he did the opposite. Well, he just went out and said, he told people, and Jesus
Everybody
told him not to do. Well, does he tell him not to do that?
I think
Yeah, he says, see that you don't tell this to anyone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, from Jesus. He's, you should not tell anyone, and what I'm going to do is run out and tell everyone. So, it's quite apparent that Jesus can command the demons, command the spiritual realm, and he has control over that, and they don't speak. But human beings have a choice. that's a great thing that we have.
Well, and not just the spiritual realm, but when he's in the boat with the storm,
Right?
he says, "Shut up." I think
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
is what he's saying to the storm, and it does.
Yeah,
Same thing when Satan tempts him, says, "Speak to these stones,
yeah.
and they'll become."
Right.
Because he knows he could do it,
Sure.
and Jesus knows that too. But people,
Yeah.
people don't always do what they're told.
No, they don't. But I don't see evidence of Jesus, tracking him down and.
Or the leprosy coming back as soon as he starts talking.
Yeah. One thing about Jesus, and as we see here in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3, that he knows people. I mean, he knows who they are. He knows the nature of human beings. He is a human, and he understands what we go through, the temptations that we face, all of that. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing. It really is, that human beings, it at least goes to show that we have choice, and we don't always obey. But it's so I've never even thought about this. Boy, I got paint all over me. I've been painting VBS sets.
We should have postponed this.
Yeah, right. I
I
got all kinds of paint on me. I've got a paint shirt on. Anyway, but so he defies a direct order from Jesus. Is that a sin? Oh, why did I have to say that?
I don't know. I think Jesus probably laughed about it, honestly.
Well,
I mean, just because he knows people, and he.
Well, even though Jesus couldn't go, we're talking about the man with leprosy, chapter 1, although we're in chapter 3.
Are we? Okay.
Yes. But he couldn't go back into a city, just walk in anymore. It ruined that.
Yeah.
But Jesus, God the Father, still got things done through Jesus the Son.
Well, we see here in verse 7 what we just read.
Yes. Back to chapter 3?
Well, that's what you said. A great multitude. So, the word is out, obviously, from chapter 1.
Yes.
And from the healing on the Sabbath. And so now people are here. They know.
Yeah.
Or they've at least heard about this guy, and they want to know. They want to see what he can do for them.
And it's an odd thing that people see Jesus. Of course, Isaiah says that he wasn't. I mean, to paraphrase what Isaiah said, he wasn't anything to really look at and say,
just a regular
"Wow,
looking person."
So nothing about his appearance that would draw us to him. Although we might think, well, obviously we would be drawn to him, but no.
Well, every depiction of him that we have, he's very good
every
looking.
picture. Well, the Shroud of Turin, we don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's just an average-looking Jewish man.
It's just like every other shroud.
No, it's from Turin.
Oh, right.
So when the spirits see him, in verse 11 of chapter 3, the evil spirits saw him. They fell down before him and cried out. So he's being revealed to people. He's being revealed to his own at this point, the Jews. He's being revealed. This is what God had promised from Genesis 3. Isaiah wrote about him 700 years before this. And so everyone that's a Jew understands Jesus is coming, or the Messiah is coming. And sad to say, most of them missed it. Most of them today are still looking for the Messiah. They don't think Jesus was the Messiah, but a good teacher, and all that. As does Islam. I mean, they think he's a great teacher. A lot of the religions of the world believe that. Anyway, it's just interesting to me that when the evil spirits see him, they fall down and they cry out. And John the Baptist probably I mean, Jesus says he was the greatest man to ever be born.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a pretty big, yeah, pretty big thing to say about another human being. But and I think the reason for that is because of how John addressed Jesus. You know, behold the Lamb of God. He's doing all these things that no one else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now Jesus is still, I mean, dealing with people, but the spirits, evil spirits, know who he is and bow down. The Pharisees, being ultra-religious groups, one of the ultra-religious groups of the day, did not bow down.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't fall down and cry out. They didn't do any of that. They're trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an odd thing to think about, that evil spirits sort of, in a way, revere him
Mm-hmm.
in his authority, his power, what he can do. And human beings are like, man, I don't know. They're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, that's borne out in, I don't remember what letter it is from Paul, where the demon.
He wrote a few.
Demons say, you know, Jesus I know, and
yeah, well,
Paul,
that's an Acts.
Paul I've heard of.
Yeah, 8.
But
7,
who are you?
7, 8.
Yeah, is it the brothers?
7 sons of Sceva.
Sons, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Jesus
stories.
I know, and Paul
Yeah.
I've heard of, but
Who are you?
who are you?
Yeah.
Right. So
He beats the living daylights out of him.
it's not that they're these unclean spirits. That's what my version says. Don't recognize, you know, authority.
Yeah.
They certainly do,
Right.
and you know, in some other places, it's, you know, don't kill us.
Mm.
You know, there's one, I think it was at the Legion that goes into
Yeah.
the pigs. You know, that they recognize that he has the authority to end their existence
Yeah.
permanently, and
Yeah. You're
they beg
ruining
not to.
the story that's coming up. Yeah.
Well,
We're not ruining
and I have read it before.
it. That hasn't ruined it. Okay.
You know.
So
But
he gives
these,
him.
well, these people again came from all around Judea, Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's not close by.
It's a big area.
Necessarily. That's a distance I think
Mm-hmm.
these people had to travel. So they're coming again to be healed.
Yeah.
That's it at this point.
And that, I mean, just think about today.
Diseases, right?
There's enough. I mean, you and I know enough people right now. We could fill the local football stadium
Sure.
with people that need it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's always that way. It's always going to be that way.
And the thing is, he didn't heal all of them,
No.
and that's a hard pill for, I think, for some people to swallow, is that he didn't heal everyone.
No, that's like in the.
In fact, it's
second chapter.
In here, he's trying to get away
Yeah.
from them. Not that he doesn't care about them, but
Well, chapter
I
1.
think that speaks to his mission, that he's got. Not that your problems aren't important, but he's got something bigger going on here.
Well,
physical problems.
Yeah, he's in chapter 1. We saw where he stays up, I don't know, seemingly all night. Gets up early while it's still dark and goes out to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, he's getting ready to appoint the apostles, and I think that's a big thing on his mind. And so he's praying. But anyway, they come looking for him, and you know, because there were other people. You know, they brought more people to be healed. There's an endless supply of hurt and pain and Jesus knows this, but that's not why he came, to heal us physically and live forever, but to heal our sin problem, and then we can truly live forever, because the way it is, I mean, wasn't the way it started out, but the way it is, everyone 1 out of 1. Is that right? Dies. Everybody's going to die. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we don't, that means we'll be alive when Jesus returns.
Yeah.
But this body still has to die, and we're transformed. We're
something.
we have a imperishable body that's given to us. So this body that we have right now is not going to be eternal, but He's going to change us. So anyway, He understands that. He didn't come to heal everybody of every illness. That's not His purpose. Seek and save the lost is what He says is His purpose. So that's what He's going to do. He's going to get that right. How do you get the attention of people? Well, there are a lot of ways, but one way, sure enough, is to heal them.
Heal them, feed them.
Feed them, heal them.
I mean,
yeah.
And then you can get their attention.
Yes. And anyway, I'm back in chapter 1, verse 13.
You were on your own on that.
I know.
Those first couple of weeks.
Yeah,
That's why you made a lot of progress.
I made a lot of progress.
Okay, verse 13. He went up the mountain and called to him those whom he wanted, and they came to him, and he appointed 12 to be with him and to be sent out to preach and to have authority to cast out demons. So he appointed the 12. I'm just thinking ahead now.
Okay.
Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, James, son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges. I think I got that right.
You got it.
That is, sons of thunder. And Andrew, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, who handed him over. Anything about that? These sons of thunder? Or any of the rest?
Well, I think it's important that he designated them apostles, and the word apostle just means someone who's sent to do something.
And he doesn't even say it here. I mean, that word isn't used in this passage, I don't think.
Apostle?
Yeah.
Verse 14 it is.
Is it?
Mine. Yeah, but it says some
have
manuscripts do not have designating them apostles. So
what does
some
yours
manuscripts
say?
It says he appointed 12, designating them apostles, that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach and have authority to drive out demons. So this is why he's choosing them. That they might be with him, and that he might send them out to preach and to cast out demons. Authority. He would give them authority to do that. So these are the ones he wanted to be with him, and even Judas. I mean, he's going to do it. I mean, you're Jesus. You know he's going to do this.
Judas probably doesn't know yet.
No, I don't think he has a clue.
Yeah, but
Well, just like Peter, he doesn't have a clue that he's going to betray him or deny him.
Deny him, yeah. Well, betray. It's kind of the same
Yeah.
idea, but
Of course, what Judas does is a little different.
it's different for sure. But there is some significance to that number of 12, biblically.
Yes.
And so I don't know if that was the typical number of followers that are close followers that a rabbi would have in this time period, or if there was a specific, inner group of specially appointed disciples that other rabbis did. I don't know.
It was
That's
surely
a normal kind of thing.
Yeah.
You pick out.
To pick out this kind of group.
Well, right.
It's a ragtag group that most of them aren't going to get a shot like this ever. it's beyond belief that I think for some of them that's why they like drop their nets and go. They
Yeah, that's,
you know,
that's the alternative. Is
well,
keep fishing,
yeah, well, and
or keep tax collecting, or
Yeah.
we don't really get an idea of what the other ones did, right? They're not all fishermen.
we don't know. They're not all fishermen. Matthew was a tax collector.
This is the first time that some of them are even mentioned
Yeah,
by name.
true.
So
Yeah,
and
some
maybe
of
the last
them-
time they don't. They don't
Some
give
of
a lot
them we don't know, but I mean they did what Jesus wanted them
Right.
to do.
And
I
they
mean they
were-
were with him. They preached. They were given authority.
Mhm.
I can't see the clock. Do you know what time it is?
It's 7:29.
Oh, okay. It's earlier than I thought.
So we started actually pretty close to
On time.
on time.
Did we? Okay.
You were
Yay.
ready to get going.
Yay for us.
I mean, we messed around a lot too.
We did.
So I don't really have a whole lot of questions or nothing.
Okay.
Any
Move on to
anything
20.
pressing? You have any other comments about that section?
No, I don't.
I wonder about the others though, because there were other people, other disciples. He had lots of other disciples,
Sure.
he's up on the mountain and he's like naming them. You come up here, and the ones who are left down, on the mountain or down below. We're like, oh, man, I wanted to be in that group with Jesus, but
Yeah. Well,
we'll
they
never
still
know.
follow him.
Right, just not like inner circle.
Well,
kind of
and then
thing.
you really just had three: Peter, James,
Right.
and John, that were inner circle guys.
Yes, and you really just had John. 'Cause
Well-
he's the one that Jesus loved.
Sure. Sure he was.
According to him.
Well, he's not going to deny him three
No.
times.
Well,
Right?
yeah. He's not going to betray him, that's for sure. He's not going to doubt him.
No.
It's all about John. Yeah, he's the one. He even gets to the tomb first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he gets to the tomb
Outruns.
first. Yeah, and then Peter just runs right in.
Yeah.
I love that. But
There is no competition among the apostles. I'll tell you that.
surely not.
No.
Now, their mothers,
Yeah.
they have some
Yeah.
issues. They want to know who's going to be first. Now,
Well-
I wonder why Jesus changed, or at least called Simon by a different name. Calls him Peter, or I think it's Cephas. Isn't that
Yeah.
the Greek? Or is that Aramaic?
He gave him the name which
Petra.
signifies rock.
That's the
Yeah.
Greek.
Yeah.
Petra. And Cephas, I think, is that the Aramaic version of
Well,
Petra?
I'll have to look that up. I think you're right on that.
I think it is.
Yeah, people had, more than one name,
Right.
and that's not an uncommon thing.
Well, and I think even Thaddeus, isn't he called Nathaniel in other
yeah,
Gospels?
yeah, there are a few of them that are lesser known, you would say,
Right.
like you said.
There's another
Philip
Simon.
and Andrew. You don't. I mean, well, you're.
Simon, the other Simon was called the Zealot
Yeah,
too. That's an interesting
yeah.
title. Not here,
It's
but
yeah.
I wonder if that's a.
It's a sect.
Yeah, I wondered
Yeah.
if that was another
Yeah.
offshoot of Judaism, like the.
Yeah, they were serious.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
zealots were.
Well, and that makes me think. Okay, well, Paul is about the most zealous person.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he was a part of
I
that
don't think he was a zealot.
group too, and he was a zealous Pharisee.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think you could be zealous without being a zealot,
Okay. We'll have to look
if
that
that
one
makes sense.
up. Alphaeus and Zebedee get mentions here, even though they're just the fathers of. Just the fathers, as if that's not important, but.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, it's an interesting group, and they're going to get this job done, and we don't really see until after the day of Pentecost, that when everything really kicks in, and that is the Spirit given, and then there's no, there doesn't seem to be any fear. There doesn't seems to be boldness after that.
Yeah, it's a big switch. When you see Peter, especially Peter, he's kind of the central figure here in the New Testament. From going from where he was afraid to even admit that he knew Jesus,
right,
to 50 days later, now he's speaking in tongues, and he's got this authority, and
he has the message,
and then you see him, later on, breaking out of prison, and just not he didn't break it, but he
was let out.
He was not afraid of. Didn't seem to be afraid of anything after that point, and it's almost like he's like a different person.
And I think that's really is the point. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, if we have the Spirit of Christ living in us, which if we're Christians we do, that's not just a game changer, it's a life changer, and we should become people that are confident, people that are bold. Not that we just live life flippantly or we don't care about anything. It's not that. It's that we have a purpose. And I think, I know there was a purpose, not just felt, but seen and understood by the apostles and the disciples and all who believed in Jesus. It was amazing, and we don't want to lose sight of how amazing it is that God has promised to give us His Spirit to live in us. That and we can grieve the Spirit. We can, quench the Spirit. We can not keep in step with the Spirit. But all of that is primarily just us deciding, we're not going to do what Jesus says.
And it was Peter deciding that too.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we get the idea that he was, of course, he was filled with the Spirit. We get that. Right. Are we just as filled with the Spirit as he was? Well, obviously, yes. Yeah. We should be, right? Yeah. But I think sometimes we get the idea that he was filled with extra Spirit. Right. An extra dose to give him that boost of confidence. But it's
same Spirit. Thing. It's same Spirit. Now, as far as purpose goes, what the Spirit, gives us to do, or, maybe certain ones of it, people are more hospitable than others, although we're all supposed to be hospitable, or, supposed to be loving and kind and all of that. But you get some people that just I often say it's like they're the spark plug for all of us, as far as with, let's just say, hospitality. You watch what they do and you see, and I know people that are naturally hospitable, but when they get the Spirit of Christ and they're baptized into Christ and are all in, then they receive that Spirit.
Well, and that's the thing. You still have to choose to be hospitable. Yes. It's not like the Spirit forces you to, suddenly boost your hospitality. I'm sure there are things that Peter, wrote about, especially adding to your faith virtue.
Yes.
That there were things that he was lacking, and he knew in himself that that's not really my strong suit. Maybe hospitality isn't his natural ability or gift, and but he had another one. He had a different ability that he used, and so
being part of the body is.
But it's still a choice.
Right.
The Spirit never forces.
Well, that's why we can
anything.
Quench the Spirit.
Right.
We can, we can do those things by saying, no, I don't want to. And so it brings us back to really what the evil spirits, when they saw Jesus and they bow down and they cry out. They know he's authority. He has authority over them. People. Now, ultimately, God does have authority over us, but he's given us free will to decide what we're going to do with our lives. And he is very hopeful, for lack of a better word.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
When you put yourself in a human body, and you live a perfect life so that you can save these people if they would just come to you and lay their lives down. And of course, Jesus has more to say about that in the Gospel of Mark, but he has authority, and while we live, he has as much authority in our lives as we will give him.
That's right.
And he's hoping that when we said yes, we really meant it. Mm-hmm. And it's that, what Paul says in Galatians 2:20, he has been crucified with Christ. He no longer lives, but Christ lives in him. And so he lives this life through the faith that he has in Christ. And that's the way we need to be. If we do that, our lives are, I would say without a doubt, are going to be better. Doesn't mean that we have, that we don't have any suffering, or that we don't have any pain,
or
that we don't have any troubles.
Look at what happened to the apostles.
Yeah, right.
How they ended up. Most of them, I think all but one, mm-hmm. were murdered, or martyred at least.
Martyred, yeah.
Murdered.
Well, as the story goes,
yes, I should say that. Yeah, that's how the story goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, or at least that's the.
It's what we've heard.
Yeah, the tradition says, but
yeah.
But even even if we look at some of the other lives, John the Baptist believed in Jesus as much or more than anyone on earth ever has.
Brutal.
And he was murdered.
Yeah.
Not because of his faith necessarily,
yeah.
but he was still
in a roundabout way.
But just believing and having faith and trust in Jesus does not guarantee that you're not gonna die some horrible death, or you won't get sick. Or
it may mean that it happens sooner.
It might, yeah.
Depending on where you are.
It might.
But yeah, so there's something going on here that Jesus is. He's ready to begin his ministry, and we're going to see here. He gets all kinds of opposition. And he speaks in parables here. This may be the first one he does here, at least in Mark, in verse 23. He starts speaking in parables. And then his own family thinks he's crazy for
I love that,
thinking this and doing this. Yeah,
verse 20.
We're going to get to that, but
then he went home.
Yeah,
I love that. Think about what that means. If you've been gone a long time, you've been traveling, especially then they were traveling on foot.
Yeah. And
they've been all these places. You've been up a mountain, you've been out in the water, in a boat, and now verse 20. And then
that he created.
Yeah.
Went up a mountain that he created.
And then he went home. There's a lot there. You think about. Well, I've traveled a lot this summer, and there's when you go home, it's your home. It's what you know. It's what's what's usually comfortable, and you went home. That's a very human thing.
Yeah,
a human concept to go to a home. Not just a house or somebody else. I can go to somebody else's house, but that's not home, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm looking forward to getting into this, but he's in some ways he's going to He's going back to a place that he can't. He could, but he doesn't control.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily control the narrative because they have something to say about him. They know him.
They know him
in a
better
way,
than anyone.
in a way that no one else does.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so they're not out there on the road with him, experiencing everything that they hear. Anyway,
he's
I'm
just
looking forward to that.
Jesus. He's that little boy that was running around. He's the whatever, I don't know how he was when he was little, but just I can imagine he was just like any other baby or any other person, but that's the Jesus they know. Mm-hmm. You think about and I know your kids and my kids, and we have relationships with them and but you don't know them like I do.
Yeah. And
and
Mary,
I don't know yours like you
you're
do.
right. And Mary knows something's up because of what she was told at his birth or right before what he was going to do. And so she ponders all these things in her heart. I love that verse. Mm-hmm. And so this would be maybe a continuation of that. But anyway, we'll get there. So next week...
I think we better stop before
next
start
week,
that section. That's a pretty big...
we'll look at verse 20. So we'll be in Mark chapter 3, verse 20. So if you would all...
I don't know if I'll be here.
Read ahead. Well, if Darin's not here, then we can't do this.
Well, you better. Because, anyway.
Well, you know how sad it is when you're not here? And everyone has to put up with me.
No, I don't.
You don't? You don't? You don't
I really don't know.
Yeah. I think you're watching. You're just not here, and you're watching to see what happens.
I will probably be in the car on the way home at that time. Because, it begins. Wait. Not next week. Still got one more week. So I'll be here next week.
Yeah. Okay.
The week after. I should be here. Anyway.
All right. Sounds good. You want to pray for us?
Okay. Father, again, we thank you for this time that we can read about Jesus and just the kind of person, a human he was, and how he cared about people and how he healed people, but how his ultimate concern is not their physical well-being, but their destiny after this body dies. Help us to be more like him the rest of this week. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Glad you can join us. See you next week.